Hey guys, welcome back. It's ATL's Next 100 with our brand new afternoon show, Next Now. I'm KrisNoTucker, and I'll be your only host today. I know, the station is experiencing so many things right now, and we're just handling them the best way we can. And we're just transitioning, throughout the year, just like everybody else. And we hope to have our other co-hosts back with us later on this week, but we do have some things coming at you today. I'm going to be talking about election updates, getting you guys caught up on everything that has been going on, from Biden's speech to Georgia turning blue. We're going to talk about young people overall and their involvement in the election, and then talk about really women of color, specifically black women, making changes in politics. And yeah, we'll be back. I'll be back with the first segment. And yeah, guys, we'll have Around the Way. Around the Way is basically our gossip segment. I named Around the Way because I like trendy gossip to make it more informative with you guys. Yeah. And first up on that docket, we have the baby's older brother. He passed earlier this week, I believe, and the family released that. And yeah, the baby is originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's known for multiple hits on the radio. And we also just want to send out our prayers for that overall to the family. We're also getting into the pipes bursting at State Farm Arena in Fulton County, residents voting polls and ballots. There was no damage to the machines or the ballots, but it was delayed the time of the vote overall in Georgia. And basically, it just hints to other problems that we've seen throughout major presidential elections throughout history. We're also going to talk about Travis Scott deactivating his Instagram to focus on his family. Honestly, we do see that a lot when it comes to celebrities because they need to take time with their families. They feel like sometimes they get caught up a lot in their career. And we see with Travis Scott he's made a lot of major headway within his career. So I feel like he needs time to focus on his family, and, everyone needs that quality time, that head time. We're going to talk about LeBron James and the city of Akron to help find the murderer of Erica Wims. James family, she's a James family friend. She was found in the bathroom, fatally shot in the head, sadly. And we just overall want to send condolences to her family and the James family. And we also want to keep a close eye on that story as it updates as well. Again, I'm coming back to you with election updates. Kanye West plans to concede the presidential. Kanye West concedes presidential election announcements. Sorry, guys. And he plans to run again in 2024. We obviously, at this point, expect these antics from Kanye West. And it's really hard to focus on Kanye West at this point with everything that he's done. We will also get into how Trump is taking and handling everything since he's basically lost this election, and what he plans to do for these next 2 months. Yeah, I know, guys, it's a lot to take in, but we're going to get through these topics. Next, I'm going to talk about Johnny Depp departing from the Fantastic Beasts franchise. We heard about this. And when I heard about this, I didn't think it was particularly true. But then we got further information on it. And it turns out that he plans to leave due to legal battles that he's been having with his former partner, Amber Heard. He lost his libel trial in the UK, I want to say earlier this week as well. And that prompted him to take his leave from the Fantastic Beasts franchise. If you don't know this franchise, it's basically a spinoff from the big box office hit Harry Potter. I'm a big Harry Potter fan myself, so to hear about this and to see this happen, and this year is just, it really didn't shock me because it's 2020, and at this point, I feel like we're all living in the Twilight Zone. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how they're going to tackle the recasting of Johnny Depp's character, because he did play basically the villain throughout this franchise. And yeah, we're also going to talk about Al Roker revealing that he has prostate cancer. Al Roker has been, I want to say, on TV specifically for a very, very long time. Hearing that news really shocked me as well, especially with 2020 and where we have been heading. I really didn't expect, or to expect most of the things that have been happening. But our prayers are with Al Roker as he continues to fight this diagnosis. We're also getting into Anne Hathaway's apology to the disability community. She recently debuted her new movie, the adaptation of The Wishes, which came out, I want to say the first adaptation or the first original movie came out in 1983. Now, if you didn't hear of this movie, it's basically, it's supposed to be a children's movie essentially. But once you really get into the plot of it all, it kind of, I think it's kind of a little suspense, a little kid horror movie, if you want to make that a thing. But yeah, she goes on to apologize to the community as a whole, the disability community as a whole, due to her portraying of her limbs that are basically, I want to say, snake-like and a little deformed. So yeah. She says, "I'm sorry," the Oscar winner wrote in a statement posted on Instagram Thursday. She did not connect limb differences with the Grand High Witch when the look of the character was brought to me. If I had, I assure you, this never would have happened. So, I honestly feel she does feel that she just caught off guard and she didn't really think about it when she got the character introduced to her. And we do see this a lot in Hollywood when it comes to actors and them taking on certain roles, and the roles are dealing with maybe facial changes or skin changes or any type of changes to the just appearance as a whole. And there's always bound to be some backlash when it comes to that. So honestly, when you're I feel like in that profession, that's just something you have to look at as a whole when you're taking jobs, and you have to be overall accountable for. Next, we're going to talk about Dave Chappelle hosting Saturday Night Live. He went on to host Saturday Night Live and basically give an update of 2020 to the world. And Dave is known for his controversial comedy sets, and that's what he gave, essentially, talking about the homeless and AIDS. But honestly, at this point, with comedy, you have to understand that there are certain forms, and people can tend to take offense in some ways. And I guess at some points, I feel like your comedy needs to change with the times in order to, stay relevant. But hey, that's just my opinion. We're also talking about Alex Trebek passing on after his battle with pancreatic cancer. If you didn't know, Alex Trebek is the famous Jeopardy host. I want to say he's hosted the show for over many years, and everyone's known him. And so everyone is, I feel like, a part of them has left them because he's been a household name. Everyone's recognized his voice, and you know, it's just another heartbreaking tragedy that has happened this year. And we're just going to continue to send out our prayers. Also, I want to send up our condolences to the rapper and influencer Brax's family. She just died at the age of 21. Again, it's just another awful thing that has happened in 2020, and I think we all just want to move on. But after this break, I'm going to come back to you guys with another segment. And yeah.
Top shot, I got the balls like a car. Life good. Sole purpose, man, knew I was worth it. Since the day that I was birthed, it came out of a lurking. Looking at all of the nurses, she said I was special. Knew that was for certain. I would've thought this world was perfect, but it came with some curses. I read between the verses, if the truth you've been searching. I woke up, I'm alerted, I was feeling like a servant. I ain't a part of this circus, my soul been overworking. She can't handle my burden, but she say she want a Birkin. I fell asleep in churches, I ain't know what he was chirping. Within myself, I got faith, then prayer start unfolding. I know that God real, but not the way that they had told us. Rising, everybody loves rising, rising, everybody loves rising. I ain't sweet like I'm Tyson, but I ain't do no fighting. And I've been feeling righteous, I'm going through enlightenment. Clutches of a sidekick, in between her like hyphen. They saying I don't know, but wait till it hit the fan. Grounding up in the sand, the work put in, I seen dividends. I'm a bigger man, better man, I got a better plan. If you understand with somebody with some understanding, pineal gland in my crown, and I got the upper hand. Put the blues in rubber bands, I attract abundance. Affirmations daily, that's why blessings keep on coming in. 369, when I wake, I write it 3 times. 6 times in the daytime, 9 at nighttime. Put positive thoughts into your heart, it'll change your DNA. Negative thoughts, they fall apart. 9, thinking straight. I don't even smoke weed no more, I put that on the heaven's gates. Speaking on the heaven's gates, I know I'm going to heaven, mate. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm eating on the vegan plate. Don't take me to Chick-fil-A, I'm eating at the Grand Cafe. They ain't open on Sunday anyway. Your dinner, you are what you eat, I'm counting green, eating celery. I don't care what nobody else think or say. Self-love, the best love. Self-hate got you out of shape. Distractions all in your face. They tell me when they gonna wait. Donald Trump the last president, ain't no more candidate. Turn my backyard to farmland, but grew up watching gangland. On the block hanging, I had my Drake singing. All that negative you put in, you get it back, that's dangerous. Felt like all my karma came back when I got famous. Put the good in, you get the good out. I don't even tow my gun no more, cause I'm knowing that I'm good now. Universe keep working for me, ain't nobody gonna touch me. They say protect, chop at all costs, they need to change the subject. Rising, everybody loves rising, rising, everybody loves rising now.
Got a lot of new flames and nigga them blue. 350,000 times that about 2 new down no roof. I still see the skies. These are my grandma, I still see my guys. Turn this bad, must feel let down. Heard it down 700. What you gon' bet now? Yeah, used to get to her to Vietnam. Luke, get up, dog, I need you. I don't make sure that I was eating. Free nails still RP Reese. Get her nails done, still charge for the feature. Baby, we ain't that, no, we ain't this. All that, I don't do no kiss. Ain't words in my all in my mentions. You really wanna get higher? To the little something Bryson. How to hit more than Mike Tyson. Get poppin', I ain't doing no sending my cash, I ain't doing no right.
Car too fast, can't stop at no light. I hit the gas, it's great, and I pull off. I'm on a I just took a year off, she shaking her come in when she get out. Took half a meal for my little brother to get out. That new Richard meal made me feel like a boss. Feel like I'm Meeks when I'm riding these cars. Who you know pull up whole entourage in the farm. I got designing for days, but it's something about him. Go crazy for white Air Force One, maybe cause I'm a dope boy. He be loud, but he ain't making no noise. Vince the door on the ground like a skateboard. If I want her, I get her, I pay for her. I pay extra, I ain't tryna wait for her. Everything that I got, it was made for me. I was serving them trap house fade for me. Everybody with me gotta eat. Say you crazy with me. Thou should not try one of us. If they do, I'm a bust. Please don't reach for no chain. Not about to say, but it's more about respect. If they give me upset, they gon' die, this on game. Ran on my check when I walk in the bank. They greet me at the door by my government name. I made a promise I'm never gon' change. Rolls Royce umbrella, I'm hoping it rain. Yeah. Right back on it, designing my garments, corner store mornings, down to the sundown. I don't trust no one, I can't put my gun down. Going #1 now, how this out, hands down, bands out, pants down. Yeah, I'm thugging. I done got rich, everybody my cousin. You ain't serving no pass with me, you ain't my brother. That chopper go through, I call it a cutter. I just bought a new whip, I went bought another. My mother, she happy now, ain't no cabin gown. But I graduated, her house paid for, and that new Mercedes. Know you see that they been tryna beat me lately. I'm a heavy hitter like Javante Davis. That ain't gon' save him, leave him on the pavement. All I know is get this mother paper. Thou should not try one of us. If they do, I'm a bust. Please don't reach for no chain. Not about to say, but it's more about respect. If they give me upset, they gon' die, this on game. Ran on my check when I walk in the bank. They greet me at the door by my government name. I made a promise I'm never gon' change. Rolls Royce umbrella, I'm hoping it rain.
Doggy moan, I get it. Fell a little twice, had me in my feelings. 3 months drop, damn near $500,000. The house, I done must build it. So see when it killed me, I miss Ted, but she was different. I miss Ned, first piece, my damn near went deaf when they told me they killed train rat on. 13,000 VBS buffs on, still a flooded town with a truckload. Get your head and I'm out, I don't trust you. If the feds in the house, I told me, I pray to God my soul to keep G5 just be his murder. Gotta get picked up, doggy, I'm hurt. Still pay the lawyer even though I'm
Thou
nervous.
should not try one of us. If they do, I'm a bust. Please don't reach for no chain. Not about to say, but it's more about respect. If they give me upset, they gon' die, this on game. Ran on my check when I walk in the bank. They greet me at the door by my government name. I made a promise I'm never gon' change. Rolls Royce umbrella, I'm hoping it rain. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're on ATL's Next 100, and you're listening to the brand new afternoon show Next Now with me, your host, your only host today, KrisNoTucker. But thankfully, I have my good engineer Nick with me, helping me through. Thanks, Nick, so much. So we're going to continue with our next segment, Hits, which is Here in These Streets. It's our music segment. It just keeps you updated with everything music, everything that's involving music, and celebrities who love music. But our first story is basically our late, great Whitney Houston is finally a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She just got inducted this past Saturday, and they really, this was long overdue. She really, I feel like, touched a lot of people across America, across the world. Whitney is just one of those people that, you know, you think of her as a household name. You think of multiple of her songs. You love all of her catalog when it comes to music. And this was just really long overdue, and I'm really happy to see it. The singer was basically praised and had a lovely speech given and delivered by Alicia Keys, the 15-time Grammy winner, during the music organization's virtual induction ceremony that Saturday. She quoted saying in her speech, saying, "We all know what a miraculous singer Whitney was, perhaps the greatest voice of all of our time. We all know how unprecedented success brought Black women into the absolute highest reaches of the music industry's pantheon." And honestly, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. We're going to continue on next in the news with Lil Baby signing his first female artist to his record label. Her name, forgive me if I mess this up, is Shailene Monet. He signed her to his label 4PF. And this is my first time hearing of this young girl. She's a singer, and I'm really interested to see what they're going to bring to the table and what Lil Baby's label brings to the table overall with this new artist. I love that she's a black girl. I love that she's gorgeous. I love, again, that he chose to sign a singer. Like, I'm really ready to see what he's going to give with this new label and this new singer. I hope she brings a lot of bops. Next, we have Kodak Black announces Bill Israel, his new album for the release of November the 11th. I don't think we've heard anything from Kodak Black in a while, actually. So that's more interesting. But we've known Kodak Black to, when it comes to social media, to have his own outlook, I would say, on things. So outside of his music, I really don't, care to see what he's bringing to the culture. Also, Tekashi 69 kidnapper was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Yes, that's right, you guys. You heard it right. Tekashi 69 kidnapper was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Next in the news, we have Bad Bunny. He just came out with a new song featuring Jay Cortez. I think Bad Bunny is known big in the Hispanic community, actually, and I think the Afro-Latino community too. And I want to say the reggae community. Maybe he's just known overall in the music community. But I've listened to some of his stuff, and I really do enjoy how upbeat his music is and how overall alive it makes you feel. Next, we have King Von. He came out with his new song, The Code, featuring Polo G. Now, I haven't heard this song yet, but I've heard this song from multiple friends. They just keep talking about it. It's just been buzzing around, apparently. So I'm going to listen in, and I feel like you guys, if you like rap and if it's something you love to enjoy or listen to, maybe you should give it a listen too. Maybe King Von is onto something with this new Code song. Next, we have NLE Choppa, the little yoga master himself, came out with his latest song, Bryson. He also made an allegation that someone is trying to stop his song from charting. Now, we've also seen this type of behavior in artists when it comes to the charts and numbers. I think it gets a little politicky when you bring in numbers. So I think overall, when it comes to that, you should just really focus on the music and just making good music. Yeah. Next, we're going to bring to you the next segment. Our next segment is Patchwork. Patchwork is basically the fashion segment. It gives you everything you need to know when it comes to fashion in the world in this moment. We're going to talk about Reebok's collaboration with Pyra Moss. Yes, Pyra Moss. If you didn't know, he's an upcoming African-American designer. He's been making waves in the fashion world, especially the luxury fashion world. And he's made some very affordable and nice pieces with Reebok. I can't wait myself to purchase some of these items, and I can't wait to see what he has planned next with his multiple collections. Next, we have The Fear of God and his collaboration with the Italian luxury line, I want to say Zegna. They recently came out with this collab. It's basically a very high scale luxury men's line, and it gives you a different approach, I think, to basically the professional look of men. And that's all we have for the patchwork segment. Next, we're going to get into Government Now. You know, Government Now updates you on everything politics. I'm going to have our engineer chiming in to help me throughout this segment because, you know, as well, this is a politics segment, so it's a lot of information to get through. So, with the first thing up on the docket is 5 states legalized marijuana usage during this past election. Yes, 5 states. Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, South Dakota. And yeah.
I think it should be kind of noted that these 5 states didn't just like legalize weed; they legalized like a bunch of different substances. You know, they're
right. I want to say
I remember there was some of it was like there was methamphetamines were one of them. They had like mushrooms. They had a bunch of stuff that would be like. Why it would sound stupid, but the thing is that they're not just legalizing it entirely. They legalize it like a very small like personal carry kind of amount. Like for example, I think for like methamphetamine there was like a drop basically is what it was, because there was nothing. If you were caught with any more than like a single pill, you were going to jail. Right. It was literally just, it was essentially worthless unless you were literally just, you were in the process of using it. Right. And you couldn't just be, you know, arrested for having it on you. I'll have to look up the numbers on that because I do remember it was seriously much closer here. I'm looking at different stuff right now. For example, I'm just looking at marijuana, for example, for New Jersey. The effective date is January 1st, 2021. So like no time soon. Right. And let's see what else.
But just to piggyback what you just said, as far as like they just not only legalized the recreational use of marijuana, but in some states like Oregon also, they've just like decriminalized it as a whole, like not only marijuana but multiple other drugs as well. And what, because I think they want to do is tackle like the whole war, like the whole problem with drugs as a whole in multiple communities.
And what they're trying to do differently versus a lot of like southern states, like for example Georgia, good old, you know, fun Georgia with our absolutely bountiful prison population, because what like Oregon, for example, is doing, what all these other more progressive states are doing, is what they're trying to rehabilitate people by like decriminalizing it and using, I believe, I'm not certain if this is the case or not, but what like a basic idea of what's going on in Oregon right now is they're using the taxes that they're putting on marijuana sales and stuff to fund the rehabilitation of drug users and addicts. So the money from marijuana taxes is going straight back into these sort of, you know, programs, which I honestly thought was kind of, I wasn't super, I remember reading just the, that they were like creating a bunch of like rehabilitation programs. I'm like, ooh, how are you gonna fund that? But then they actually have a plan. They're not just, you know, just creating something. Because
it's just like, honestly, you see, we haven't, as far as like when it comes to like, honestly, drugs and how it has affected communities, we haven't had a successful plan ever. And it's just been this constant thing that has been affecting us consistently. And I feel like this is the first step in something that's going to be in the right direction too.
Well, I mean, I hope it is. And here, I'm just going to show the viewers right now what it looks like. This is kind of the map. I kind of thought this was funny, is the fact that none of this is like this is, by the way, these are just states that have just recently updated the cannabis sort of restrictions. So of course Oregon isn't highlighted here, but this is because Oregon's been like that for a while, and so is Colorado. But no, I genuinely am surprised by just how sparsely, like, you have like Mississippi right there, which is nowhere even close to like New Jersey and Arizona there. Nothing of this. The weirdest thing to me, honestly, is that none of this shows like the kind of same sort of trends that we've seen with states like Oregon, Washington, California, the entire West Coast there. Because everybody's like, oh, they're so liberal and they're so this and that. And so you'll get different kind of crazy laws like what they had with, you know, the fact that they were the only place with legalized weed for a long time.
Right.
But then, of course, Colorado beat them to the punch, and now
Right.
everybody's just kind of all around the nation. I'm not even sure what's going on with that. Honestly, I don't know. Because it's not like we've seen a huge push nationally for this. I've seen a lot of, you know, left-leaning communities want to push it, but of course that's because they're left-leaning communities. They're going to want, you know, ideas that are left-leaning are going to spread very easily.
Right.
But I haven't seen it on like the national stage to the point where this should be expected. This is actually still surprising to me. And I mean, I just thought it was really weird how.
Well, you know, with everything that's been going on in 2020, Nick,
It's just 2020.
You can't really expect. You gotta expect the unexpected
Exactly.
at all times with
I'll-
everything.
I'll see if I have it written down because I do remember there's somewhere. I'll see if I can find it.
Mhm.
But you can lead us back into the next topic while I'm looking this up real quick.
Of course, of course. So next up in the news, we have California may restore voting rights to over 55,000 people with felony records. I think this is monumental, and again, this is another step in the right direction when it comes to the way we have structured our democracy and the way we put a lot of power into voting in multiple elections across the country. But yeah, California Proposition 17 would restore voting rights to all residents after they leave prison on parole. Under current law, people with felony convictions lose the right to vote until they finish parole. If approved by voters in November, Prop 17 would affect over 55,000 Californians. I think this is in this day and age, this is really unprecedented. And I think if this passes and goes through, again, this is just a step in the right direction when it comes to voting.
Honestly, yeah, and I think I was always surprised that the concept that you were no longer allowed to vote when you were a felon always kind of confused me, because then that kind of gives the state or people in charge it gives them initiative to prosecute people who would not vote in the people in charge's interests. That would give them, incentive to persecute them with felonies, see if they can find something to stick. And you saw that a lot during the protests where people were getting like felonies for standing near the White House,
right,
or standing near federal buildings that weren't even like, the county magistrate or something like that. No, but not even like sitting there, and they'll be hitting you with like 7 different felonies.
Right. But I think overall, this is just, if this bill like passes, it would put a lot of power back into communities that aren't really recognized when it comes to voting, or looked over.
I think I agree. It would definitely give a lot of power back to people who would not be able to. But given it's California, that kind of diminishes its effect because of the way that the Electoral College is built.
Right.
And I will say, I can understand the Electoral College. It does kind of make sense to me. My biggest issue with it is the fact that the entire state votes for one person. Why? Who decided that? What good does that do to anyone? That literally doesn't benefit anyone. It literally just makes it so that now we have swing states where, like, if you go to my vote, if I was a Republican and I lived in California, I might as well not vote because it's not going to change anything.
Right.
If I'm a Democrat who lives in somehow, Georgia, normally 9 times out of 10 you would expect your vote just not matter, so you just wouldn't vote, which
Right.
kind of. And I think.
But I think now with that, but I think that notion can be challenged with what has happened in this recent election.
Yeah, but the thing is that I don't want it to be a shocker that suddenly now my vote counts towards the president because enough people around me also voted for me, for the person I liked. Why can't I just vote and just have my votes proportionally go to the president?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I can understand that, you know, the electoral college makes it all complex and all this stuff, but just proportionally by state. You don't even have to do all of it.
Right.
But yeah, the fact that Georgia flipped, I think all respect goes to Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
All respect goes to
So
Stacey
we
Abrams.
recently just had the presidential election, and I think throughout the country, a lot of states and a lot of local governments were making history left and right. But one of the biggest moments was Georgia flipping Arctic blue.
Yeah, that is just. I woke up in the morning and it was like Christmas all over again. I woke up, I saw the screen, it was like school was closed. Georgia flips blue.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. How can it be?
Mm-hmm.
I am still just in awe of that because I remember looking at the election results like.
But yeah,
on
like
the
you
first
said,
night, yeah.
all of that just goes to Stacey Abrams because she
Yeah.
really put a light and shed a light on voter suppression.
Have you seen the political map of Georgia counties?
Yeah,
Where-
like recently.
No, from this election.
Mm-hmm.
But where it was like red all over except for in the cities.
Yeah.
And seeing that and seeing how it turned out kind of makes you kind of realize just how different voting might be if everyone was allowed to vote.
Right.
Because so many people are trying to stop voting for people in like high density areas because
Yes.
high density areas, they make it as like backwards and complicated, and they're not trying. Do you remember how they in the Constitution you can't put like taxes on voting stations, you can't have like reading, you can't have tests on voting things because
Right.
those were initially there because they wanted to stop black people from voting
Yeah.
back when slavery had just ended.
Voter suppression.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, the fact that they enabled 3 things into the Constitution because nobody would follow it otherwise, they think it's over. It's not over. They're still doing everything in their power to stop it. But the fact that we managed to still, despite this, just so many people voted.
Yeah, like it really goes again to show that you really your vote has power.
Yeah, and right now
And-
the entire nation's looking at Georgia right now. The
Yeah.
entire nation is looking at Georgia right now.
Because it's like now you see, especially in the Bible Belt, that the younger generation does not share the same view
Yeah.
as the generation that's been here.
It kind of gives the idea that like just how many red states are actually red, considering the amount of people who just don't vote because they don't have the option to.
Right,
Just how many Democrats are living in these Republican states
right.
but just don't get power.
It's just like, is that really a red state or is it just...
Yeah, is that really a red state or is
it's
that just
masquerading.
a bunch of red counties that are easier to vote in?
Mm-hmm.
You know? But man, I'm still and the
Yeah, I'm still shocked. I'm flabbergasted.
And honestly, I'm not too sure what's going on with the runoff election because as far as I was aware, it was David Perdue versus John Ossoff, and then Warnock versus like Loeffler and the other guy. Was that not? Because I remember Perdue beat John Ossoff by quite a margin, as far as I recall. But if there's a runoff, because I know that if we wanted to have a Democrat-owned House or a Democrat-owned Senate, because we have a Democrat-owned House that we kind of lost a little bit of seats because Democrats are just stupid. And I hate the DNC. I don't like Joe Biden, and I just only
want to
wanted
be
him to
unbiased
vote.
on the show.
I can't be unbiased because they just chose the worst strategy. You can't just keep appealing to centrals and expecting that to win.
But yeah, I still, with that being said, I still suggest that you guys go out and vote
'Cause it's
in
better-
January for the runoff elections.
Despite the fact that I hate I hate them for saying, what are they gonna do? Vote for Republicans? What are we gonna do? Vote for Republicans? But yeah, it's just there's not a whole lot that we can do with this current situation that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly we're given an option.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that though, because for so many years, for these past couple years, we haven't had any options.
No.
We've just really just been sitting on the side watching a train wreck happen.
Yeah, just like voting, like, hey, look, I was in the little margin down there in the other category, where like, to be noted, this many people voted for the party that didn't win.
Right.
Because do you know how many in the past 7 presidential elections, do you know how many times the Republican presidential candidate won a majority of voters overall?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many?
How many?
1. 1 out of 7.
Wow.
All the other 6, the Democrat presidential candidate won. Now, the reason they didn't actually win the presidency is because of electoral college and all that.
Right.
But the fact that, honestly, that's kind of my understanding of why the DNC is pushed for the kind of plan that they have, is because they have the inner cities. They have the inner cities by a margin. They need to try to win the like outer, you know,
the more rural areas.
Yeah, exactly. The more central people who aren't too keen on voting either way, so they'll just vote for whoever, you know, they kind of see the best of. And I could understand that if you weren't running against Trump, because Trump is going to dominate the media.
Honestly, I'm just really on edge as what he's going to do for these next 2 months that he's still going to be in office.
Oh yeah, he's already. I remember reading back just a little while ago. In 2017, he introduced a bill, and it was the bill that he touted everybody as like, look, I cut everybody's taxes.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, cool. And they didn't read the fine print that it's like, your taxes are cut until 2021, at which point they're going to increase slowly, more and more and more until 2029. And at that point, it's going to be 7 different presidents, right? And like, Trump is going to be long gone, or at least we hope. But man, it's like you gotta think about stuff like that, because, and I go off on Trump all the time. He's not the only one that does this. Not even the Republican Party is the only one that does this. We have to keep looking further, and I'm glad that everybody's suddenly political and suddenly engaged in their community and engaged in what's happening in the country.
As they should be, and I feel like it's needed.
I'm terrified that it's going to suddenly die now that Biden's president. I'm terrified that nobody's going to care anymore. They're like, we won. We can go back to our lives now. No.
Yeah, but I feel like there's people that are still going to do the work to make sure people are still informed and still know that the fight is not over. It's just starting.
No, and you saw that with media. You know, the one thing, Trump made the point of fake news not completely out of thin air. News is completely biased into telling you a story that you want to read about, not necessarily the story that is true.
I feel like there's always been a certain narrative in our country when it comes to politics.
Yeah. And it's not even that the news wants to give you the story that Democrats are good or Democrats are bad. It's just that they want to give you a story that you will read on, regardless of how true it is, just to keep you engaged.
Right.
And I think that what 2020 did that I've never seen before, and I haven't, in my short 19 years of life, I've never seen before, was that it got people to look deeper at what media and what information they were consuming.
Right.
And with Biden's win, I'm hoping that people don't forget that, because it's not over.
No, it's definitely not.
We still have a bunch of stuff to do, and it's not that it's over, it's just begun.
I mean, and since we're on the new president-elect, Biden, actually congrats to him and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. They recently had their acceptance speeches in Delaware, I believe, in Wilmington, Delaware. And basically, I think what you were talking about, Biden said in his acceptance speech. I feel like he delivered it very well. He was very well spoken and articulated his points and what he wanted to see when he actually gets in the White House. And I feel like Kamala just came and piggybacked off of that because, honestly, she made history. So,
and you know what I think is kind of funny is that I have living in Georgia, you're gonna have Trump supporter friends. There's nothing you can do about. There's nothing you can do about that.
No,
but it's the
I
funniest
can't.
thing. It's the funniest thing to see them immediately as soon as Biden wins, not say, "Oh, look at all these terrible things Biden's gonna do." They immediately said two things. One, they're gonna take my guns. For some reason, it's not like he hasn't said anything strongly for or against gun control at all.
Right.
He's fairly neutral on that, so I don't know why they decided that was going to be the big thing. And two, that Biden's going to leave office and that Kamala Harris is going to take over. What? Why? You know the DNC isn't smart enough for that. They're not coordinated enough to make this backwards plan with different sort of like. They just do whatever they think is good for the moment. They're not going to like plan ahead. Because that's the one thing that the GOP does that DNC does not, is that they plan ahead.
Well, I'm really excited to see what their administration overall is going to bring to the table. And on the flip side of that, Trump's administration is all going to be fired. Every last one. Going to be removed.
They're going to be fired just like every single administration is fired after the new president's sworn in. Every single time. And did you see that he actually held that speech? He scheduled it for the Four Seasons Hotel.
I saw that, but it was
his
actually
staff is like pulled a dumb and booked it in a landscaping lot.
I saw that. I died laughing. It was hilarious. I was like, that's very on par for
that is
like his whole campaign.
The perfect close to an awful presidency.
Yeah, just that fits it.
And I say awful presidency not because I hate him or anything, but because it was not a presidency of politics. It was a presidency of celebrity. He was a celebrity. Is all he was. And I remember there are also another point.
He's very egotistical.
A lot of point that Trump supporters are like saying is like, oh, we're screwed with our relationship with North Korea now. I'm like, the only reason we didn't have the North Korea situation get worse is because Kim Jong-un liked Trump, because Trump was like Kim Jong-un, and he just liked him, so he didn't do anything.
Oh my God.
He didn't solve anything. It just delayed it.
Well, I'm just happy overall that the nightmare is over.
Yeah, definitely.
But in some lighter brunch news, Clayton County approves a brunch bill which will allow bars and restaurants to serve alcohol on Sundays starting at 11 a.m.
Sundays? Why?
Because brunch is a very happy affair.
Bro,
it's
but
a
what about a
celebration.
Tuesday? Nobody got jobs right now. Nobody has jobs right now. Every day's a Sunday.
Everyone
Why
has
Sundays?
jobs. Some people are still employed, essential employees,
Bro,
essential
if you're
workers.
an essential employee, Sunday at 11 a.m., you're not going to be having free time. I'll tell you that right now.
I feel like most of them are like currently working from home, but I think it's still a needed bill.
Sundays.
I think it's gonna impact the community in a positive way.
You know why Sundays?
Why?
Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. No Chick-fil-A on Sundays. They need something to eat, and they're so distraught by the loss of Chick-fil-A. They need alcohol. They need their red wine to hold them over till Monday.
And next up in the news, 4 congressmen known as the Squad get reelected to their houses.
The Squad.
Rep. Omar of Minnesota, Rep. AOC of New York, Rep. Tlaib of Michigan, and Rep. Presley of Massachusetts. All magnificent women of color, completely different and unique in their own ways. still holding their presence in the House. And
Yeah.
I think as like a country and when it comes to politics, these four women are really really people to keep an eye on as far as like making changes, especially like historic changes in this country.
I'm gonna say one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that I would say is a significant player in the game right now that you really want to remember her name is AOC.
Mm-hmm.
Just because she doesn't actually hold any small office, but because she's influencing just based on political strategy alone.
Yeah.
The only reason that these four women are so in the media right now is that Trump is a racist and he wanted to just point out these women that were not white and say, look at them, they hate America, which I always thought was a weird thing to say for somebody whose slogan was "Make America Great Again."
Right.
Like,
that slogan.
you're gonna yell on somebody
incited
for
so much
hating America
hatred.
when you're like, America's not good right now. Yeah,
No.
they agree with you. That's a weird thing to like hate on them for. And thinly veiled racism and just sexism, which is just the one thing that's like I always didn't understand. Remember the reporter where he mocked that one disabled reporter?
Yes.
And everybody saw that and everybody thought, and everybody still thinks right now, how is that not the end?
Right.
I always think, how did we forget about this situation with these four ladies after a week? It was a stupid thing for him to say and to tweet about and to still go on about. And everyone forgot about it. Why? You want to yell at Trump, don't yell at him for 2 scoops of ice cream. Yell at him for what he actually does wrong.
Because I feel like there was just something worse around the way, like around the corner that he did.
Because the American public and, as I said, the media wants your attention 24/7. So they're going to find something to give you, back to the story. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you what they want, what you're going to watch. Unfortunately.
Next up, we have the Arkansas police chief resigning after threatening the Black Lives Matter movement. I think him resigning after this whole incident is rightfully so.
You can only stay in a police force for so long with certain ideologies.
Right.
You can only get to the point. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You can only get to be a police chief with certain ideologies. And that's not necessarily to say that cops bad, LMAO. It's more so to say that you have to have a position which kind of defensive towards.
But it's just like
defensive against anything that might slightly challenge you or your brotherhood.
His whole rhetoric was just very just based in hatred. Like, he called for violence over the whole election, stating to never let them forget they are traitors and have no right to live in this republic after what they have done.
That's what he said?
Yes. That was one message stated from the former Arkansas police chief.
Was this like private messages that got like unearthed, or was this something he just tweeted out?
No, this is just a statement that.
Did he say this out loud?
Yeah.
Why? It's like he doesn't want to live for another day. Like, that's how you get people to actually find you in your house, is to call them traitors out loud.
He posted several messages on social media with several similar statements.
Why? Bro, that's literally like, if you were to say that about an American president, somebody would come up to your house in a black van and say, "Can I speak to you for a moment?" They'd have a little earpiece too. Mm-hmm. That is just crazy. Why would you say that?
But thankfully, he resigned, and rightfully so, because...
How long did it take? About 2 minutes?
Honestly, I feel like maybe even shorter, because it's just like, wow, that was just outright and blatant. And...
I mean, honestly, you know what I don't see gets enough attention?
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix cops, or Mesa cops, specifically Mesa Police Department. I have seen so much stuff that comes from there that, like, nobody, forgets about. Because, like, everybody knows about stuff like, whatever was the weekly unarmed black man gets shot by cops thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows about that. But it's always something like bizarre and outlandish that Mesa Police does. Because it's always like, there was that one, I don't remember. Basically, they just blatantly, literally just like got this dude in his hotel because somebody saw him waving around this little rifle in his window in his hotel room. So they called the cops on him, and he was waving around his little pest control rifle that he had that shot BBs. So they come up to his room and have him get on his knees in the hallway, give him like 7 different conflicting instructions at the same time, and then shoot him on camera.
Yeah.
And before anything can happen to the dudes who did it, both of them resigned and then moved to a different district and whatever. And then just like within the last year, I remember one dude who was really the main dude who did it, just went back to Mesa, got reinforced in the, replaced in the enforcements, he got rehired so that he could take his pension and then quit again.
I'm still shocked that you can just get rehired, or you even have the option of
the
being
fact,
rehired.
not only did he get rehired, he got his pension.
Right.
And then quit. They knew he was going to do that.
It's just, there's so much corruption, I think, in so many police departments across the country. It's ridiculous.
And I hate to say, because I can understand. You remember the ACAB thing that you'll see a lot of nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
I can understand a lot of people's point of view on that. Personally, I don't want police to be these demons or demonized, I don't want police to be the target.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be able to go to your police officer, this nearby police officer, and if
You want them
problems,
to,
I want them to
do
be able
their
to
job.
help you. Not only do your job, I want them to be able to help you.
Yeah.
I want it to be a good thing. And the biggest problem that I have with it is just that the fact that the system is set up in a way that allows anyone who does something wrong to simply get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they do. It's not the fact that there is bad cops that I hate. It's the fact that there's bad cops that are allowed to keep being bad cops.
Mm-hmm.
Is the problem that I have. But man, I'm glad the guy resigned.
Yes.
Incredibly stupid for him to say that out loud, knowing the consequences of his actions. I'm just shocked that he wouldn't have the foresight. I'm guessing this is just his retirement plan. It's just say something stupid and then get out.
Yeah. But in other, monumental news, Alabama removes racist language from their constitution.
What does that mean?
Or the state constitution.
What does that mean?
Because I guess they had
They have the word Negro in there?
Or it's, more I guess language that's not geared towards basically
Why
people
would that
of color.
be in the Constitution?
Well, it's Alabama. Right, like...
Bro, I wouldn't expect them to be able to, find some...
And then we have Mississippi, who just updated their state flag. Because it was,
Yeah, bad.
Horrible. But I'm happy they just did that, though. It again shows that we're having movement. We see that a lot in the southern states as well. We see that rhetoric, and we've been seeing it. But it's good that we now see that there's change happening, and no one wants to stay in no one wants to stay in this environment anymore.
I'm glad to see some progression that moves beyond just surface level public relations.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's actually going to last for more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember when all the George Floyd protests were going on,
Yeah.
and they canceled cops
Yeah.
on television. They just canceled it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put it back on after a month. I'm glad that there's something that's going on right now that's going to stay for longer than that.
Yeah. It's just, I feel like every little thing is a right move in a good direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, as long as we continue to see actions like this shine through, the democracy as a whole, the country as a whole, is going to be in a good space.
And I think it should be I think it should be focused on that the steps that are made are not simply petty, not simply, face value things. I want stuff changed that matters, that means something, that lasts.
Right.
And that's kind of something that lasts. It is something that lasts. Something in the flag too.
Yeah, definitely the flag.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the flag. I'm, again, so happy they made that change because it was a blatant Confederate flag. And so I'm happy that Mississippi made those necessary changes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the updated flag looks better overall. Yeah. And so I guess, guys, we're going to take a break now, and I'm going to come back to you with our next segment. Again, this is ATL's Next 100, and this is your brand new afternoon show. I'm your co-host today, KrisNoTucker.
I'm Nick.
And this is Nick, my engineer. And we'll be right back, guys.
I'ma let that Mac fly just like my dope. I'ma let this Mac fly with this one. Hold on. I say I'ma let it. Alright, come on. Alright. Got a drop on this flexin'. He from Tennessee. I had a thought. She be with the. She told me where he be. I say for sure. Baby, let me know if you wanna eat. She like Vaughn. You already know. Just put your girl on fleek. I'm like cool. I can do that, boo. What you want? Some shoes? Jimmy Choo with a handbag too. Red up, baby blue. She get the smile. She ain't used to this, cause she ain't used to this. I'm just laughing. Could've been a pimp the way I move my lip. I be speeding. Could've been a driver the way I push the whip. You a could've been a the way you throw a bit. But that right back to the script, cause this a major lick. He got bricks, plus his neck and icy, and it matches wrist. Now it's like 6. Told her hit his phone, meet her in the wick, but he ain't go. But he ain't that slow. Say meet him at the store. I'm like cool, let him run his move. Do what he gon' do, cause this the plot. Put him in a pot, let it cook like stew. I grab my Glock. It been through a lot, but it's this shoe like new. We at the top. Yeah, we lost a lot, but that's just how it go. But check the scope. If y'all lose one more, that's 6 to 24. Let me focus, can't be zoning out. He pulling up now, he double pop. He ain't getting out, he in that push to start. That new Porsche is built like a horse, colors like a fork. He got a ring, I guess he ain't divorced. Wife probably old. Now she walk up, she strutting her stuff. This thickest got in the truck, kissed him on his lip. He cupping up, but now I sneak up, crouching like a tiger, like Snoop off the wire, the block on fire. So I take precaution, mask on Michael Myers. I'm on his, he finna be mad, he gon' be that. But this what happened. I got to the dope, I thought I was capping. I was lacking, cause that go to up, yelling I was cracking. I'm like, what? I'm like, who? I was born to shoot, I got aim. I'm like Johnny Dane, when it come to change. So I rise, hit one in his arm, hit one in his thigh. This no lie, just do or die. You say you gon' slide, you got some nerve. Yo, on the curb, boy, we put in work from 64th and from 65th, we not from 63rd.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to us on ATL's Next 100, and this is the brand new afternoon show, Next Now, with me, your host, KrisNoTucker, and my engineer, Nick. He's chiming in with us, and I'm going to introduce our next segment, Afternoon Tea. It's basically a segment where we pose open-ended questions to basically see where your mental is, questions that help you get throughout the day, or questions that essentially overall makes you think. So our first question is, what is one thing you do for yourself to maintain self-love, especially in this pandemic? So Nick, do you want to answer? What is one thing you do for yourself to maintain self-love?
To maintain self-love?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a hard question. Off the top of my head,
it could be something simple like, playing a video game or buying new video games, or, treating yourself to new music.
I guess just zoning out for about an hour a day.
That could be a form of meditation.
True. Just sitting down, watching Drew. I just chill out by myself, just let myself enjoy some time, because
right.
enjoy it while you can,
Yeah. And I think it's important to, especially during each day, depending on what you're doing, no matter what your profession is to just take some time to sit down and disconnect from the world, because this world has really shown us how rough and tough it can be. And so I really think if you do have the time to just sit down and disconnect and really breathe through your day.
You also have to try and make sure you don't spoil yourself, right?
Yeah.
You gotta make sure that you separate time for loving yourself from doing your job. Because after all, you do have a job to do, and that other people rely on you for something.
Yeah.
Whether that be your actual job or whether that be just be someone for someone. Right? You don't have to enjoy every hour of every day.
Right.
But make sure you enjoy something.
Right. It's like, it's the little things, essentially.
Yeah.
I think especially in this day and age. Huh?
What did I say?
You know what I'm saying? You just brought up a perfect good point. Like, it honestly is the little things. Like, you have to make sure, especially, and then as far as like the little battles as well, like you have to celebrate the little wins, because those matter. Those little wins basically get you to the bigger picture, get you to the finish line.
And I've said this before, make sure, I've said this before in past afternoon teas, make sure those small little wins don't become your only wins.
Right.
Make sure you strive for bigger wins.
Right. I feel like those little wins should be leading up to like your big win or like your overall big goal.
You can accept, you accept the win, but with the understanding that this is only something that leads to something greater.
I feel like I do multiple things for myself to maintain self-love. Especially in this day and age, I do a lot, from meditating to yoga to cooking things that like I haven't tried in years, or some of my favorite foods that I can possibly cook.
Yeah.
And or taking the time to binge watch my favorite anime, or read or write my favorite manga, or create my own manga. And yeah, really just take the time to disconnect and dove into who I am as a person, and so I don't forget it or get lost in the fray overall, like with dealing with just overall day-to-day things in the world. Because again, as we all see, there's so much going on from the day, like each 24-hour day.
24 hours a day seems like a short time in the long scheme of things. But it's 24 hours that you have to deal with concurrently.
Yeah. And like, it's repetitive, so sometimes it can get a little monotonous, or it can get a little hectic, or it just overall can be a little bit unbearable. So ask yourself, what is one thing you need to do to maintain your self-love? Ask your mom, ask your dad, ask your sister, ask your brother, ask your dog. Because everyone needs a mental break in this day and age. My next question is, do you find yourself discovering new things about yourself throughout 2020, especially in this pandemic? And I'll pose the question to you first, Nick.
I fall into bad habits too quickly. I found that out. I know myself as somebody who can easily, I can easily fall into routine, right? But unfortunately, that routine tends to lean towards things that are easier to do.
Right.
Like sitting around doing nothing, enjoying myself. And it's harder to get a routine where I'm being productive.
Right.
Where I'm going out, or I'm having a job, or I'm having, going to the grocery store, right? And 2020 has made me realize that, no school that I have to go to every day. I gotta wake up on time. I go to bed at like 5 a.m.
You're a night owl, Nick. Oh my gosh.
To the point where it becomes an early bird. They overlap at my point. And it's like...
I feel like a lot of Americans are at that point.
Bro, I am beyond... Yeah. It just keeps going, rolling over and over and over and over. Till some point I just basically just fall asleep for 24 hours straight. And I wake up like, what day is it? Like, where am I?
But it's good that you found something, you identified it, and you're at least trying to change it.
Yeah? Question mark? I'm aware of it. I'm trying to not just let myself stay awake 24 hours a day and then fall asleep for 24 hours.
Right. That could start to wear on your body, though, Nick. Like, that could become a serious thing.
Yeah.
And you're so young.
Your body is not meant to keep awake for 36 hours straight.
Right. You're going to crash.
I crash. It's constantly, when if you crash a plane, it hits the ground, it keeps moving while it's hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my normal. It's just in the ground.
Crash and burn, literally.
Keep going, just as long as you don't stop. Just like a shark.
I mean, I think as long as you don't stop, that's the sole thing.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Just know where I am and know what my body needs.
Right. I think now that we're heading towards the end of the year for me, I feel like I've just discovered how to really address and be accountable for my emotions overall. Because I feel like for the longest time, I would be push them or neglect them as a whole, and just keep moving forward one goal or have tunnel vision towards one specific goal, and not really taking the time to process my emotions or
not considering your emotional reaction in relation to the situation and how it relates to things in large.
Mm-hmm.
So like your instant reaction to something may be, oh, I hate this, and you gotta think, well, why do I hate this?
Yeah,
What
you really have to break it down.
What does this do for me? What is the layer deeper? Like reading between the lines, but reading between yourself.
Yeah. And it's just I really feel like I think everybody should do this. I think you should just take the time and really assess how you actually feel about everything. Every little thing. And really just watch how profound it would be and how enlightened you will be. And how it will really help you just in your daily life of being a human. Because it's we are all human and we all experience things and have these emotions. Right. Especially what we've seen. Most of us. But yeah, it's just we all have these emotions instilled in us. And so I really had to learn how to stop neglecting them and do the work, and essentially it's helping me become a better me in the long run. And so that's what I've just been excited about throughout this whole year. And now that I've initiated this or put this into my life, it's kind of made it easier for me to just navigate life as a whole and navigate my friendships and my relationships with other people or my family or colleagues. It just helps me, I think, be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So again, guys, that's another question you should pose to everybody around you, just to check in and see where they're at as a person, just where their mind is, because it could be right there with you guys or it could be 1,000 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to bring them back there, you want to bring them back in the moment. Please stay in the moment, because I feel like a lot of people get caught up in what could be, and not still focusing on things that need to be taken care of in that moment that will get you to that what would be moment or what could be moment.
But at the same time, don't just stay lost in the day-to-day life. You have to understand, you have to make goals for yourself. You have to think about, where am I actually going and what am I doing?
Because that day-to-day life can become monotonous.
Yeah, what am I doing to actually achieve my goals?
Yeah.
What steps can I take right now to achieve that? And am I following that? Or am I just hoping that they'll be real but not really achieving it? Because you're the only thing affecting your future self is what's happening now and what will happen because of what you've done. So, you know, can't just expect the world from nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. But again, I really just think everybody should always take the time to just check on your loved ones, check on the people around you. Especially now that this election is over, we don't know what outcomes might occur or what the former president might or how he might react. So, yeah, guys, you're listening to us on ATL's Next 100. This is our new afternoon show, Next Now. I'm your host, KrisNoTucker.
I'm Nick.
Joining me is my engineer, Nick. And we'll be right back, guys, with our next segment. Or, our next segment, because this ends afternoon tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been blind for a while now. I just got the key, they let me in, no ID. Doors opening up for me and now I see. I've been blind for a while now. I've been blind for a while now. I've been blind. Hey. Becky next to Dicky, next to who? Tomato, mustard, mayonnaise. Better catch him. They put in my head too hard for me to learn my lesson. My head too hard. The way I did it worked out fine. Ooh, God, you blessed. Hey, man, probably ain't believe me. No, I went through hell and back. Now he finally on the TV. I don't even give no more. Probably think it's easy. Let you know it ain't easy. Like a bathing nigga, she run from the like a cheetah. Go! Foot on that bitch, watch on. Never see music for a clock. I see the way up the charts. I wonder is he ever gonna stop? And he charge 150 for the verses now. Pay it or we never ever drop. They notice that he's versatile. Wonder if he ever gonna pop. Go! I just got the key, they let me in. No ID. Doors opening up for me and now I see. I've been blind for a while now. I've been blind for a while now. Let's go! They let me in, no ID. Doors opening up for me and now I see. I've been blind for a while now. I've been blind for a while now.
Yeah, I've been quarantined, living with my kids, trying to teach me how to cha-cha. Around, let the door open, now they know that they can't stop me. Don't place me in no cop car. Yeah, I'm on probation, so it's gas I blow. I found love in my so I don't ask no more. I can really sit back, ain't gotta pass no dough. All of my brothers get loot. I don't got right with pistols. They found them dead, he dished you up. PTBS, don't you tell me you lost me. All the rest, let them go on nominee. Go to the head whenever dogs with me die. Got me riding till the sun come, blood on my white one. I just got the key, they let me in, no ID. Doors opening up for me and now I see. I've been blind for a while now. Yeah, I've been blind for a while now.
Let's go! I just got the key, they let me in, no ID. Doors opening up for me and now I see. I've been blind for a while now. I've been blind for a while now.
Hey guys, and we're back on ATL's Next 100 with their brand new afternoon show, Next Now. And I'm your host, KrisNoTucker. Joining me is my engineer, Nick. And our next segment is Black Excellence. This segment is basically celebrating everything Black, from people to people to people. But the first subject and topic we have in the Black Excellence segment is DaBaby. DaBaby met his fans at polls in his hometown for the election. Basically, joining a campaign basically geared towards inciting that people vote, that people get out and vote, that there matter votes. So the campaign basically had DaBaby popping up at multiple sites, election sites throughout the city, his hometown city, Charlotte, encouraging people to vote and letting them know that their voices are going to be heard. And I think, honestly, that deserves a round of applause. Like, constantly encouraging people to do something that they have a constitutional right to do. That's something that's been given to them, and something that is proven to change things and to make voices heard and voices matter. So shout out to the baby, especially after what he's been going through in his own personal life. It's always good to hear that people are still pushing through with positivity and still focusing on the good in the world. Next up, we have Atlanta Public Schools hires district's first equity officer, a black woman, Tahita Baker Jones. She will report to the superintendent and is in charge of creating programs and supporting policies that will benefit all students' education. And that, without saying, is black excellence in its greatest, like in its purest form. Tahita Baker Jones is probably going to really make a change in education, because honestly, we've seen in these past 4 years that the head of education really hasn't focused on education. And something in this country, I feel like education is something in this country that needs to be a major focus constantly, because you're molding the newest, like you're molding the next generations that are going to push the country into new eras. So I feel like when it comes to education, it always should be taken seriously. And so shout out to Tahita Baker Jones for, doing her thing. Next up, we have a 6-year-old girl by the name of Aspen King from Marietta, Georgia. She launches a pajama line called Jammy Jam. That is so cute. And publishes a book with her siblings called Sibling Love. Shout out to you, Aspen. That girl, you're already showing that you are a creative force out here with that adorable and marketable pajama line name. I'll definitely let all of my friends know about these cute little adorable pajamas, especially the ones that have their own little babies. And I'll definitely look into this book as well. You're publishing a book at the age of 6. I don't even know what I was doing at 6. I think eating dirt at my grandmother's house.
Say eating worms off the ground is what I was doing.
Just constantly showing how great we are in America. Shout out to you, Aspen King. Continue to be great, sis. And honestly, I can't wait to see what you do when you're 10, 20, 30, and so on and so forth. Next up, we have the BLM activist Cori Bush has become the first black woman in Congress of Missouri representing the Democratic Party. Shout out to you, Cori Bush, especially coming from being a Black Lives Matter activist. That I feel like in itself holds a lot of weight, especially in America, especially with the protests we've seen and the reactions to multiple things done to Black America. So again, shout out to Cori Bush. Can't wait to see what you do with this position and how you make a name for yourself out there in Missouri. Next and lastly, we have Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is on this list today because he's donated $1 million to Tuskegee University for the 5th time. Yes, you guys, he's donated this $1 million for the 5th time. And I think, honestly, contributing to this HBCU in the consistent manner that he has, it really goes to show what we can do and how we can change things when we sow back into our communities. When we can constantly show up and constantly give that support, and not just financially, it could be in so many other ways, but just being there consistently, it matters, and it can show that change can happen. And being from Alabama, I was just taken back, and I didn't really know that he had done this. But shout out to Charles Barkley, because Tuskegee is a great school. It is full of historic moments in his like it is I want to say a landmark in history. Like, there are so many things that is associated with this university and with the name Tuskegee itself. So again, shout out to Charles Barkley. Guys, that brings the end of our Black Excellence segment. Honestly, everybody on here deserves multiple rounds of applause, multiple rounds of praise. Continue to be great. Continue to push positivity. Continue to push creativity in everything that you guys do. Continue to make change in this world, because we all know how cruel this world can be. And yeah, guys, that's all I have right now. And I would like to thank you guys for getting through this day with me, for getting through this show with me and Nick. Honestly, we've been going through a lot over here at this station, honestly, with the pandemic and basically navigating through that. And it's not the best, but we're here and we're getting through it. And you're going to probably see me more throughout the week, or you're going to probably see more of my other co-hosts throughout the week. We're going to figure this thing out, and we're going to keep it moving. But you are going to see us. You are going to continue to hear us. We aren't going anywhere, regardless of a panty. We still going to be here, and we're still going to make things pop. Nick is still going to be on the ones and twos, getting us through this amazing show. I really enjoy talking to you guys. I hope you come back and listen in tomorrow. And yeah, this is ATL's Next 100, and this is the brand new afternoon show, Next Now. And as always, it is KrisNoTucker, and I'll see you guys later.
I see the Peter. You know I got the Jones for my own Rashida. Can you put me on with the Nagarita? She stay on my dome, she gon' pull on me, pull like weed, entice me. She my queen. Yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. She my queen. Gon' pull on me, pull like weed, entice me. Or Sharon Leo, she stay down the hall. I call Regina. Keep your bonnet on, it stay on for Lisa. She Mussolano, she gon' pull on me, pull like weed, entice me. She my queen. Holding you up to a high esteem. Baby girl, you're looking like a goddess. Don't be so mad while I have you here with me. I just wanna do things that you can't believe. I'll pick you up and put you on your throne. Cause you were made to reign, girl. The sunshine in my world. I do it all cause she my queen. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. She my queen. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. She my queen. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. She gon' pull on me, pull like weed, entice me. She my queen.
Hey guys, I just want to give a quick reminder to just follow us on our social media at NXNow Media. If you heard me right, it's NXNow Media. Don't get it mixed up with next, the whole word. It's NXNow Media. So please don't forget to follow us on all of those social media platforms, mainly Instagram. And don't forget, we'll be back at 2 p.m. on ATL's Now. And yeah, see you guys later.